There was a legend beneath the swinging hips that read, "Teaser soundtrack, Bam Bam Manson, from the album Adolescing in Agony, 1988 Motley Crue Productions." The music bounced around obscenely, while some whining voice yowled about how Brandy was a teaser. Kayana felt like her head would explode. She hated this. The girl on the screen flashed her breasts briefly at the camera. "You didn't get that off MTV," said Kayana. "Why are you holding your head?" asked Reginald, looking at her. Kelly stiffened behind her daughter. "Because it hurts," said Kayana. Brandy was running her lusty little tongue along her lips, and she licked the metal part of the microphone for good measure, even though she wasn't singing at all. She was just the mascot for Motley Crue. That was her job. Kayana couldn't help thinking that Brandy's mouth was painted way too wide. It was as if the outer lip they'd painted on her was made to look like she was puckered for sodomy, or something awful like that. Her mouth did look like it belonged on her other end. Kayana almost giggled, but she didn't. She was thinking how Kelly would give her some bam bam if she was her mother. Kelly didn't go in for this indecent exhibitionism. Not that Kayana was into it. She had been raised better than that. Brandy wouldn't last any time at all, acting like that around Kelly Erbicum Blue. Kelly'd jerk a knot in her young ass in short order. Brandy showed her breasts again and sighed silently. Kayana felt her natural coyness coming to the surface now. "Officer," she said, "my mother doesn't allow me to watch pornography. I can assure you that if I were to buy this video and my mother was to find out about it, she would punish me for having it." Kelly beamed with pride, even though she knew that Kayana was messing with the policeman's mind. "Way to go, baby," Kelly thought. "Give him hell." "We aren't here to offend your sense of morals, Kayana," said Frazier, trying to justify their position. "We want to know simply if you were with Brandy Manson while you were gone." "No," said Kayana, "I wasn't. I've never seen her before in my life, except on television. And that little thing you have there, whatever it is." "My daughter's right, gentlemen," said Kelly, rubbing Kayana's shoulders. "I think we've seen enough of that." The man switched off the tape as he switched on the tape player for audio. A voice came on now, a familiar voice. Kayana's skin crawled as she heard it. 911, what is your emergency?" Yes, I'm calling from some farmhouse about 7 miles. Calm down, lady. Start over, okay? You don't understand, officer. I'm in the house with Brandy Manson. I have—" Click. It sounded like a very southern Kayana. Kayana wasn't impressed until she heard the second tape. "Hello? Miss Erbicum? Yes, who is this?" "This is Detective Reginald's. Is this Kayana?" "Yes, it is. What can I do for you, officer?" Detective Reginald stopped the tape a moment. "You called me an officer just now, Kayana," he accused her, "when you said we were showing you porno. You called the man on the tape there an officer, and you've called me an officer over the phone, even though I have identified myself as a member of the Detective Bureau. Kayana, all of these voices belong to you." He switched the tape back on again. "We would like to come by this afternoon and show you something, Kayana. We have an investigation that your mother started on case number 8912-3277. We would like to see you both if we could." "Sure," said Kayana on the tape. "Come on by. Mom says we'll be here." The detective switched the tape off for good now, and he looked at Kayana. His eyes did not leave her face. "We compared the tapes on a voice and stress analyzer," said Detective Frazier, rubbing his forehead with his fingertips. "This is you, Kayana. There can be no doubt of that. You made that call from the farmhouse. Now do you want to tell us about it?" "Gentlemen," said Kelly, leaving Kayana on the couch and walking over to face them, "you may leave now, both of you. If you don't have a warrant for her arrest, I suggest it would be a very good time for you both to leave. Now." The men got up and looked at her first, and then Kayana. "We will be back, Miss Erbicum," said Reginald. "Thank you both for your time." They packed their things amazingly quick and were out the door inside of 50 seconds. Even Kelly was impressed with how fast they had cleared out. She smiled at Kaina, but Kaina did not return the smile. Her head hurt too badly for that. "Don't let them get you down, Kaina," said Kelly after they had gone. "They have ways to make those silly tapes sound like anybody they want. Mom, I'd like to lay down for a while. I've got an awful headache that doesn't seem to be going away." "Sure, Pumpkin, I'll get you some aspirin." Kelly went to get the aspirin, and as she reached into the medicine chest, she was surprised to find her hand was trembling. It might be the tranquilizer, she hoped. It might just be withdrawal. But she knew what was really causing it. Fear. It was fear that the policeman she had chased away so easily might just be right. Kaina might know more than she was letting on. She swallowed her rising gorge and took Kaina her aspirin. Kaina had called Echo that night. No answer. She called Mrs. Cherbourg later, and was surprised when Echo picked up the line. "Echo," said Kaina, "is that you?" "Kaina!" yelled Echo happily. "Mama, it's Kaina! It's her!" "What are you doing over there?" asked Kaina. "I live here now, Kaina. It's a long story. My mom is in rehab. I will have to tell you later when it's not long distance." "Hell with long distance, Echo. Talk to me, girl." "Well, when we saw on the news they'd found you, and that is, my new mama, and I prayed you'd be all right. And you are all right, Kaina. I'm so happy I could die." My new mama, thought Kaina. "I am all right, Echo. I miss you so bad." Echo swallowed, and Kaina heard it. "Me too, Kay. God, I've missed you. I've cried every night for you, Kaina." This didn't sound like the little snip cock of the walk Echo Bradley that Kaina had left there. She had lost her Valley Girl accent, for one thing. Something had happened to her. Something bad. "Why are you living with Mrs. Cherbourg?" "Echo." "She's my mama now, Kaina. I live with her. She's actually adopted me, legal papers and all." Kaina's eyes got big. "Really? That's terrific." "But enough about me," said Echo. "I want to hear about Brandy Manson. You were with her, weren't you?" Kaina felt her head throb again. There was that little bitch's name. There was that pain again. Kaina groaned to herself. "No, Echo, that was media bull. I didn't see any Brandy Manson." They talked for a long time, and Echo finally got it all out, about how her mother had beaten the hell out of her with a lamp. Echo went into the wounds, their severity, and everything. "I'm fine now. Mama makes me feel good. She's a real gem, Kaina. She told me stuff about my body and how I'm developing into a woman, and she's not ashamed of my changes, Kaina. She's here to help me become a woman." Kaina bit her lip. She knew what an ungodly woman Brenda Bradley could be. She knew what a repressed Catholic she really was. "I'm happy for you, Echo. Listen, honey, I called to tell you that I'm on my way back to live in Ohio. That's why Don's footing the bill for this call. He wants to get rid of me." Echo squealed in delight. "Where are you going to live, Kay?" "In our old apartment. Down the hall. Kelly's keeping the place for me, and I think it best that we both—" Echo waited for a moment, and then she spoke. "How is it between you two, Kaina? Did you get over her yet?" Echo heard Kaina laugh, and it was so good to hear her laugh at herself now. She was too good a person to be miserable, thought Echo, massaging her neck and changing ears for the 10th time since she had picked up the receiver. "Yes, Kaina's all better now, Echo," said Kaina. "Her puppy love for her mommy is all a thing of the past." Kelly was obviously listening in, because Kaina said, "Ouch," like she'd been poked or something. "I'm glad you went, Kaina," said Echo, "but I have missed you more than you missed her. I swear to you I have." "That's sweet, Echo," said Kaina, emotion threatening her voice just a bit. "It's the truth," said Echo seriously. Echo was growing up, Kaina could tell. Echo was becoming that woman now, for sure. "I couldn't live out here in this snow pile, Echo. It's total bullshit, way out here. You wouldn't believe the desolation, darling. It's scary sometimes. I think that sometimes I don't remember one day from the next, it's so lonely." "Come on home then, K-Baby," said Echo cheerfully. "I'm on my way, Echo Echo," she said, calling her by a very old nickname. A warmth came over both of them as they remembered a time when they were both K-Baby and little Echo Echo. "It will be good again," swore Kayina silently to herself. "We'll do it," said Echo. "Damn straight," said Kayina, uncharacteristically, as her mamma's eyes grew wide, listening to their banter. "Who's your main lady?" "You are, K-Baby. Now lose that place and jive on back. Get back to where you once belong," sang Kayina, rejoining her. They laughed loudly. Kayina hung up after a warmer good-bye. Kelly was smiling sweetly at her. "You miss your friend, don't you, Kayina?" "Yes, ma'am," said Kayina, hopping off the bar stool to hug her mother. "Yes, I do." They embraced, and Kelly handed Kayina her blue robe. Kayina stared at it for a minute. "Where'd you get this, Mama?" "Out of that pile of clothes that's been up there for a month. You never let me wash anything. And where did you get those silken underbreeches?" Kayina stared at them, her mind a complete blank. They were white silk and very expensive. Kayina had no idea where they'd come from. None at all. "I washed them," said Kelly, "but this robe will have to wait till another time. I can't wash a continuous stream of clothing, Kayina Shea." "No, Mama," said Kayina, hugging her. "You can't, can you?" Her mother kissed her warmly on the top of her head. Kayina felt her own throat tightening. "I'm going to miss you, Kayina," she said sweetly, kissing her again. "Me too, Mama," said Kayina, nuzzling her mother. She would never get too old to nuzzle her mother, like a small kid goat nudging its mother's udder. That was Kayina nuzzling her mother's neck. It felt really good to do that. Kelly stood still as always and let her do this. When they'd finished, Kayina started up the steps to her room, her hands in the pockets of her robe. "Night, Mother." "Good night, baby. See you in the morning." Kayina walked into her bedroom and started to cut on the headphones. There was a concert on Rockline tonight, a new release by Robert Plant. Manic Nirvana or some such thing. She'd heard a couple of cuts on it from the radio, but tonight they were doing a full 90 minutes. It wouldn't be Now and Zen, of course, but then few things were. Kayina was just about to the stereo system when she felt something in her robe pocket. Strange, she thought. I never put anything in this pocket. Her head began to hurt a little bit now, but not too badly. Kayina pulled the offending piece from her pocket. It looked for the world like a piece of wallpaper. As she studied it, she realized what it was she had. It was a piece of wallpaper. It unfolded, and suddenly she became very afraid. Her heart raced and her eyes blurred, but she could still make out the words very clearly, the words printed beautifully in crayon. "To Echo Bradley, my biggest fan. Love always, Brandy Ann Manson." Kayina dropped the paper and stepped back. She stared at it on the floor for a very long time. Chapter 16. The police did not come back. They might never come back, thought Kayina. The questions were over. Yule really had vanished, for Kayina couldn't show Kelly and Don where he had lived, and the scariest part about it was, he had taken his pond with him. Kelly, saint that she was, had not mentioned the pond to Donald Blue at all. Thanks, Mama. Mama wanted to know everything, but she told very little that she did know. That was the formula for a perfect mother. The snow had melted now, revealing great brown patches of ground that looked like pond bottoms. So Kayina was thinking maybe she'd fallen into a temporary pond. She had never seen Oregon before, and maybe its land was as queer as its inhabitants. Maybe it was like a bog or something out in Scotland, where the young foolish ponies sometimes wandered out and never came back. Maybe she'd fallen into quicksand, formed by all that snow and muck. Kelly didn't ride her any more, and Don knew better than to try. They had in fact gotten along really well since Kayina's return. Mom had given Kayina some belated Christmas presents, a pair of high-top Reeboks, and a pair of leg warmers. She had never had any of these things before, and Kaina wasn't the type of girl to be asking for things as a rule. When Kelly and she had lived together, money was always tight. Kaina did without in silence. Now her mother hadn't forgotten that it was Christmas, and even though it was their first one apart from each other, Mother had remembered, and it made Kaina warm to think about it. But Kaina was bothered. She was all ready to go back now and live near Little Echo in the apartment. She was ready to be the woman Kelly wanted her to be at last. She wanted to show her mama just how big a girl she was now. She was ready this time to make her mama proud of her. Plus, when Kelly decided to, she'd have a place to come and get away from Don for a while. He'd have his hunting buddies over, and they could do their male bonding shit, while Kelly slipped off to Ohio for a few days to spend quality time with Kaina. That would be wonderful. Things did seem to be working out well, except for that damn note. Kaina had folded it and fondled it until it was worn around the edges. There was a familiar smell about it, but the smell gave Kaina a headache when she would try and sniff it for a long time, trying to remember. Here lately Kaina had been having awful dreams. She dreamed that she had been a prisoner in a room with Brandy Manson. She dreamed that she'd been tied to a chair and made to take some sort of vile-smelling liquid drink. Sometimes she'd dream she was injected with something, and when she'd wake up, the back of her left leg would itch, the same place where she'd been given the shot in her dream. But these were dreams, she knew, and dreams could not be real. They did seem damned real, though, at times, particularly the one she'd had last night. That had been a real night horse. There was dialogue in this dream, and she'd heard everything. Those damned cops, they must be getting to me, she thought. She closed her eyes and resurrected the storyline of the dream. "What have you done to her?" screamed Brandy. "What the hell did you do?" "Shut up," yelled a man's voice, and then she heard a slapping sound. "Just shut up, you stupid little cunt." Kaina, in her dream, remembered that she didn't care about anything. She was feeling very good, and her body weighed a ton sitting in that chair. She was now trying to focus on the figures above her, but they were so blurry, so very fuzzy. "Save her!" Brandy had screamed. "Please, save her!" Save her from what? Wondered Kaina. She had slipped in and out of sleep, and the dream progressed like all of her dreams did, from stage to stage in a sequence, without any idea how she had gotten there. She was upstairs in a room. The room was paneled with pine, and there was the girl again, screaming and sobbing. Finally the man in her dream, the one she couldn't see, had taken her away. Kaina was glad that he had shut her up, at long last. She would have liked to have met this Brandy in the dream, but she was making entirely too much noise for Kaina to rest. And Kaina was so tired, so very, very tired. Then she was walking down a snow-covered road with the shadow of a man as he walked beside her. Like all of her dreams, she did not know where she was going. Like all of her dreams, she didn't care. She was walking and walking and walking. The snow was deep. Then she was in a truck, and as she looked beside her, there was Yule again. Dear old Yule. He'd come back for her, and as she looked at him, she became afraid. There were pieces of his face flaking off. He needed moisturizer, she had dreamed, and was reaching in her pocketbook to get him some. Where her pocketbook had come from in the dream, she didn't know, but there it was. She had dug around in it and found some cream. When she sat back up again, he was dead, slumped over the wheel of the truck. "Poor Yule," she cried, sobbing. Poor Yule was dead. She was so sorry. "I'm so sorry," she said. "Kaina?" Kaina, recalling her dream, stiffened. Her mind was recalling something from the dream that she had not. A voice of another man. Not Yule. An awful voice. It was saying things to her. "Kaina?" She was nodding and listening like she cared. He was trying to explain something to her, but she seemed to be getting only about half of it. Not that much, even. Something about Brandy and why. Something about herself and how. something that she nodded to over and over again, like he was repeating it. It was way weird, as Echo would have deemed it. Kayana shook off the dream and sighed. What an imagination she was developing in her old age. But the note bothered her. Had she written the damn thing herself? Had she done it as a prank, maybe, to play on Echo later? What was that doing in her pocket? She had no rational explanation but one, and that explanation did nothing to comfort her. The explanation ran thusly. Brandy Manson had scrawled her autograph on a piece of wallpaper and had in fact placed it into Kayana's dressing-gown pocket. The note was written in crayon. That was significant. Why crayon? It was on a piece of wallpaper. Why wallpaper? Why didn't she know where it had come from? She had not yet shown the note to Kelly. "When do you think would be a good time to show her, Kayana?" she asked herself. "Oh, bye, Mama. I love you. Gotta go. There's my flight. Oh, by the way, here's a note I found in my robe pocket. Maybe you can figure it out. It's an autograph of Brandy Ann Manson's. Would you like to have it? I don't know if it's genuine, nor even where I got it. You keep it, Mama. Bye." No, that would never get it. Kayana sighed and finished lacing up her new sneakers. She slipped on a pair of those great new water-resistant clear rubbers designed for sneakers, and she wriggled her feet in them so they would seat properly. That is what the package had advised her to do, seat them properly. Kayana admired her shoes in these things, and saw how they made her shoes look like she was seeing through blocks of lucite. It looked cool, it really did. Mom said you could buy them in blue or green, but she liked the clear best. So did Kayana. They were going walking today, and Kayana didn't want to get her feet wet. She didn't want to even go, but Don had insisted. "You just don't lose a car, Kayana," he had yelled at her. "Now I want us to go and find the thing before somebody steals it. The Oregon Company is about to have a cow, and we can't even tell them for sure where it is." Kelly, giving him hell for yelling at her daughter, had agreed none the less that she should go with him. Well, she'd already tried to find the trailer and couldn't. Now she'd have to backtrack down that tiny little road again to see if her car was where she had left it, before Yule had spotted her falling through the ice of a pond that was no longer there. "Slip on your new shoes, Kayana, and try out these new rubbers as well," her mother had told her. "Whatever they are, we'll see if they work. If they ruin your new sneakers, we'll just charge them with it." Kelly was ordering everything new now through parcel post, and it amused Kayana no end. Grandmother Jane used to get stuff for them out of the Spencer Gifts book, and that would come about 4 times a year. Mother was certainly becoming the rural wife, wasn't she? "They'll pay for those sneakers, too," said Kelly, smiling at her. Whatever, if Mama wanted to chance it, they were her shoes. She bought them for Kayana, and Kayana wanted to please her mother. She would have rather worn her old ones, but Mama wasn't sure yet the new ones fit her good, so she wanted to see her in them a few hours, just to make sure they fit her good. "I refuse to pay $100 for shoes you can't wear," she told her. "I don't know how she came that way to start with," said Don, as Kayana recalled him bitching about the car for the 15th time yesterday. "Give it a rest," shrieked Kelly. "Don, please, I'm getting nauseous. We are going to get the car tomorrow, all right? Give it a break." Kayana had looked at her mother, who regarded her playfully. "I ought to blister your little ass for deviating from the path we had originally agreed on," she started, smiling at her. "But you know, it does make sense that you would come that way, since the storm was coming down the Tye Valley area." "It made sense to me," said Kayana, as her mother stroked her hair. "It was the only chance I had of finding you at all, before the storm hit." "You still don't like the thoughts of motel rooms, huh, kid?" asked Kelly in a whisper, so Don wouldn't hear her. Kayana looked up at her. "You knew," she complained. "You always know. Mama, I can't keep anything from you." "That's right," said Kelly, smiling and fondling her daughter's long blonde hair. "And don't you ever keep anything from me either, young lady. You hear me?" She had giggled. "I'll know. I'll always know, because you are part of my body, Kayana. You are me. I'll always know. Did Mother know, too, about the Manson autograph in her pocket? Kaina felt herself swallow as she recalled her mother giving her the robe. Mother had been washing when she had found Kaina's robe in her bags. Had she purposely given Kaina that note back in the pocket just to see if she'd say anything? Kaina shivered. If her mother was an animal like Brenda Bradley, she'd have written the note herself and stuck it in her pocket just to see what she would say about it. But Kelly had been washing that day, and she religiously went through the pockets. Religiously. Like she didn't spot waterbed sheets and she didn't pour out unmeasured coffee into coffee filters. Her mother never deviated. Her mother knew about the note, most likely, and it would hurt her no end if Kaina didn't confide it to her, once she herself found it. Kelly opened Kaina's bedroom door slowly, to alert Kaina to cover herself if she was naked or doing anything. Mama grooved on privacy, fortunately. "I'm decent, Mama," said Kaina. "Come in." "Are you ready, Pumpkin?" asked Kelly, smiling in on her daughter. "Oh my, you look cute." Kaina blushed. Her new sweater was gorgeous, and her jeans fit her nice butt nicely. "Thanks to you," said Kaina. "You always did try to dress me in the best clothes you could." "That's 'cause I'm proud of my Pumpkin," said Kelly, reaching out to take her hand. "Come on now. Don's ready, and he hasn't lived with women long enough to be aware of how long it takes us to get ready. He's about to reach critical mass downstairs." She rolled her eyes and shook her head in exasperation. "Coming, Mother," said Kaina, grabbing her jacket off the bedpost. Kaina agonized over when to tell her. Now? Later? Tonight? Oh, hell, this was awful. I hate this note. I ought to burn it and then Mama will have seen it for sure. She could not risk that. Taking Kelly's hand, they rushed off downstairs to appease the master of the house. They didn't know whether or not they would find Kaina's car today, and Don was just about wild over that. They'd have to tread cautiously around him today. They went out the front door, the three of them, and locked it after themselves, even though no one was ever around this lonesome place. They were in Don's Jeep now. Kaina and Kelly were in the back, keeping warm. Don was up front, driving. They bounced and jostled along the snowpacks that remained in the roadway, and when they turned off that nameless little stretch of road on which Kaina had become stuck, Kaina shivered. "Start looking," Don had called back to them. "I swear," Kelly said to Kaina in a low voice, "doesn't he remind you of Griswold in any of the vacation movies?" Kaina snorted, and a little bit of snot came out of her nose. Kelly reached into her pocket and pulled out a piece of tissue. Spitting on it a little, for moisture, she rubbed it between her fingers, and then wiped Kaina's nose for her, just like she had done when she was 3 years old. Kaina smiled at her when she was through. "Just exactly," she told her mother. "He is Chevy Chase made over." "Shh," warned her mother. "He hates Chevy Chase." Kaina grimaced and hid her face in her mother's coat, giggling. They went along down the road a ways, seeing nothing. It was desolate out here. Nothing for about 7 miles. "Mama," said Kaina, "there's nothing out here." "You can say that again," said her mother. Kaina looked at her, but her mother would not elaborate. Maybe, thought Kaina, maybe she's about ready to dump him. She didn't want to hurt Don any more. She felt sorry for him. He was such a dweeb, he really was. They traveled over the still impassable parts of the road, Don bragging about his Jeep as they went, and Kelly rolling her eyes at his comments. They came upon a large farmhouse off to the right, and Kaina felt strange for a moment as Kelly brought it to her attention. "I'd like to look in there," said Kelly to her daughter. "I've been trying to get Don to let me look in there, and today I think I'll ask him, if we find the car and all." "No, you don't, Mama. The bathroom is on the porch." Kaina shivered, not knowing why, and she looked at her mother uncertainly. Where had that thought come from? Kelly didn't pick up on this, though, so Kaina let the feeling pass. She'd been having all sorts of weird feelings lately. That thought must have been one of them. How did she know the bathroom was on the porch? They drove down a valley-like road and up the other side. Kayana was watching the lay of the land off to her right as it was pulling back from the side of the road. The closer they got to the top of this next rise, the more of a valley formed between the road over there and the field. When they got to the top of the hill, Don stopped the jeep. Off to their right was this enormous valley. It went down for hundreds of feet into what looked like a creek, or what maybe had been a creek. Maybe it was a creek only in the winter, or the spring thaws. Maybe there was still water in it. There was too much snow down there to see anything. They got out of the jeep and stared down into the ravine before them. "Well," whispered Don, "I believe that you didn't make this hill if you did get this far." No one spoke for a moment. Kayana wondered if she had come this way at all. Yet she remembered the road up to this point, so she would have had to come this way. She would have had to have made it up this hill, to have walked as far as she did towards Yule. "So," continued Don in his line of reasoning, "it stands to reason that if you didn't drive up this hill, you must remember walking up it. Do you?" "No," said Kayana, with a faraway tone in her voice. "Great," said Don, shaking his head. "Just great. You're no help at all." Kelly shot him a warning glance, and he backed down. Kayana stood staring into the ravine. She couldn't remember anything, and a sick feeling entered her body. A nauseated feeling. Where did I come from? What happened to me, really? Questions like these teased and taunted her. She began to tremble, and she felt her mother draw close to hold her tightly. Kayana looked at her mother, and there were tears in her eyes. "We'll have to drive all the way back to Ashwood," Don was saying, "and then go by way of Willowdale down to Madras, and back up this road to this point then, just because you don't remember what happened." Kelly looked at him. "That way, see, we can see just whether or not the car is still along this road anywhere." Kelly, ever so gently, nudged Kayana's ribs. Kayana looked at her mother and saw something in the woman's eyes. Something weird. Kelly was trying to tell her something, and it was about the car. Kelly did not say anything, but carefully, oh so very carefully, she placed her hand lovingly upon the back of Kayana's neck. She did it in a way that would have been considered a show of affection had Don seen her doing it. But this was not affection. Kayana felt her mother's fingers close around the back of her neck, and she felt her mother's strong fingers move her head, pointing her eyes towards something. Kayana felt anxious, unable to see what Kelly was trying to show her. Unable to say, "Mom, what the hell are you doing? What are you trying to show me?" "I suggest," Don was chanting, "that we get started. It's a long way and we need to go so we can get back." Kayana stared down into the deep canyon, the white all along the ground in front of her, making her eyes water as she tried to focus on the nothingness down there. What did Kelly see? "Are we ready then?" asked Don. "Shut up," thought Kayana. "I haven't yet seen what Mama's trying to make me see. I haven't yet found what Mama's trying to make me find." And then she saw it. As Kelly's fingers fine-tuned their grip on Kayana's neck, Kayana flinched. That flinch let Kelly know that her daughter had seen it at last. As Kayana stood, staring down at what Kelly had seen, she began to shiver uncontrollably. There, about 100 yards straight down, was a rock that had very little snow on it. Only it was not a rock at all. It was a brown mass of rolled-up metal. It was the remains of a Ford Taurus. How in the name of God did I survive that, she wondered. She looked at Kelly, who was crying now. Don had walked over and was in the jeep now, waiting for his ladies to get their act together, so he could go and hunt for the car. Kelly whispered, mouthing an exaggeration so Don, behind her, wouldn't be able to read her lips. "Not a word," she mouthed. "Don't say anything." Kayana nodded just a bit, and followed Kelly back obediently to the jeep. Why did her mother not want her to say anything? Why run Don all the way around Robin Hood's barn, looking for a car they had already found, because Kelly didn't want to hear his shit, because Kelly didn't need to be dealing with that right now. They got in the Jeep as Don started the engine and turned them around. There was this incredibly wise look on Kelly's face that Kaina feared to look into. They rode together back down the valley below and up the other hill. A light came on in Kelly's eyes as she reached over and tapped Don on the shoulder. He turned his ears towards her and said, "Stop up here at this house. I gotta pee." It was a standard complaint of her mother to have to pee. Kelly peed a lot, and she always made Kaina go with her when she did pee. Kelly was under the impression that a peeing woman was a vulnerable one, and since Kaina was a little girl, she'd always gone with her mother to keep watch. It was a game that Kelly had pulled on young Kaina over and over again to get her to go pee with Mama, even when little Kay didn't have to go. "Come with Mama," Kelly would say, "to keep watch." Kaina got out of the Jeep without the prompting of Kelly's nudge when the time came. Don stopped the Jeep and looked at her. "You too?" Kaina smiled her most womanly smile and patted his arm. "To keep watch," she said, and Kelly laughed out loud. "Damn broads," muttered Don, staring up at the apparently deserted house. "I hope somebody comes to the window while you're squatting and you piss yourselves good." He was laughing at his joke as they walked slowly up the hill to the house. Kaina held her mother's hand, and they walked slower now, pretending to look at this old deserted farmhouse. They appeared, from behind, to be in no real hurry, but up front their conversation was deeper and much more intense. "That was your car, Kaina," said Kelly, not looking at her. Kaina put her head against her mother's shoulder lovingly and said, "I know it was." "Tell Mama," said Kelly, coldly, "that you don't have any friggin' idea how it got there, and I'll believe you. Just tell me that you don't know, and I will believe you." There was a look of fear in her mother's eyes, one that Kaina had never seen before. "Mama, I don't know. I swear to you, I don't." Mama bit her lip and sighed. She looked down and she looked up out across the fields. They walked up to the house and around back, crunching through the deep snow. Kaina's rubbers were keeping her new sneakers bone dry. At least there was something going right today. When they got around back of the house, Kelly pulled Kaina around out of sight and kissed her sweetly. When she was through, Kaina was crying. Kelly did not have to ask her why. She knew. "Baby," said Kelly, "screw that damn car and screw Donald Blue. I want you to know that I am here for you. I swear to God, I am here for you. You never lied to me before, remember? I whipped you for a lot of things as a little girl, but I never did whip you for lying to me. You never have done me that way." Kaina was silent, listening to her mother talk. "I know that if you don't remember, then you don't remember. Please don't think you have to hide anything from me, is all I'm trying to say. All right?" Kaina nodded and sniffed. "Great. Now have we finished peeing yet?" Kaina laughed and nodded again. Kelly took her hand and walked with her out from behind the house, pretending to check her fly. They laughed together over Kelly's theatrics, and they felt better about the car. All Kelly had wanted to say to Kaina, she had said. "You're a grown woman, my pumpkin, and if you don't really remember, that's fine. I will not be angry with you, and by the time I tell Donald Blue and the Oregon Rental Agency where their friggin' car is, you'll be safely back in Ohio." For they had spoken of that tearfully already. They had decided that Kaina belonged at home in the city with Echo Bradley. Kaina had at last wanted to be away from her mama, and her mama was secretly happy for this new self-sufficiency. Oh, it was going to sting Mama worse this time than before, but Kelly knew it was for the best. They had sworn to keep in touch by phone and letters. They looked down at the Jeep and it was empty. "Girls," shouted Donald Blue from the porch. "Come on up here, it's open." "Well," said Kelly, "what do you know about that? Old Donnie does have some adventurous blood in him, besides that which he bestows upon me between our sheets." Kaina laughed, and her laugh was genuine. Kelly didn't pry into why Kaina could not remember shit about her week in the blizzard. Kelly was not going to be beating Kaina over the head for reasons the car was at the bottom of the ravine in a brown metal ball. All Kelly cared about was that there had had not been pieces of her poor cold and dead daughter sticking out of the mass of the thing down there. The way of Kelly Aerbechem Blue was one of totally selfish interest maybe, but she was not about to alienate her daughter from her when she had just gotten her back again. Kelly had learned a vital lesson about losing Caiana forever. She had now learned that she couldn't stand it. If Caiana went to her grave without telling of her lost week in the Oregon wilderness, that would be perfectly all right with Kelly. But the truth was, Caiana did not know. Caiana thought that Kelly suspected as much, and she feared bringing on a repeat of the psychosis that had caused Caiana's amnesia to begin with. Best to let the car lie down there dead, as well as any of Caiana's memories about the event. If that wreck was so painful that Caiana had put it out of her mind, who was Kelly to try and stir that up? Kelly had seen her little girl's bottom, so she knew she hadn't been raped or anything. Hell, the doctor said she was all right. The car was insured. Forget it. Kelly might place a private call anonymously to the sheriff's department and tell them it was down there. They could tell Oregon, and Don might never know about it. But even if he did, Caiana wouldn't be here to have to go through it again. There would be no one to try and question Caiana about her car, at least until she'd been back home a while. And maybe, please God, she had a chance to get that wild look out of her eyes. Caiana still hadn't noticed it, but Kelly had. Caiana was about as wild-eyed as Kelly had ever seen her. She looked like she'd had the goose shit scared right out of her. Kelly was determined to buy Caiana some recovery time away from Oregon, and back with her little friend at home. Maybe she would recover. Then if Caiana wished to move back in with them out here, she would be more than welcome to. But Kelly thought it best that Caiana go away, back home, until whatever had happened to her in this awful place settled down to a dull roar in the girl's eyes. Caiana's eyes. Lord, they looked awful. Hand in hand they walked up on the porch and went inside the house. Caiana didn't recognize anything, and she walked about the place, staring at all the things within the house, the stone foyer, the living room, the shower built onto the front porch. All of these things she saw and still did not recall. "I'm going back in the back room," said Don, scratching his head. "I may be wrong, but this place—" He paused, and a frog went through his voice. "It doesn't appear to have been vacant very long." He took his doubts and went out of sight with them around the corner. "Well, I'd like to pee for real now," said Kelly, turning to the bathroom, "and you don't have to stand watch, Kay." "I'm going to go upstairs, Mama," said Caiana. "Come up when you're done?" Kelly smiled at her and said yes, and then went into the bathroom. She heard her say, "Woo!" The smell must have been bad in there. Caiana bounded up the steps now, eager to explore this place. She loved old houses as much as her mother did, even if the smells offended her. She loved to explore them. "Since when, Caiana?" she asked herself. "I swear you're turning into your mother." Caiana laughed. Well, her mother really was a decent lady. Why not turn totally into her? It was better than what she was already. Caiana reached the top landing and opened the door. Stepping into the old front room, she smelled the smell of burnt-out fireplaces, reeking in the place like a bad ghost. Caiana turned to her left out of habit, but she didn't know that. All she knew was that her body automatically went that way, and she followed her body without question. She saw into Brandy's former cell. There on the wall was Brandy's poster. Caiana felt her head suddenly ache as the demon-like features of Brandy, naked and alive with lust and excess sin, leered down at her. In an instant it all came back to her. "No," said Caiana aloud. "That was a dream. No, this is not real." But it was real, all of it. Brandy's poster was real. The room and the old wallpaper, it too was quite real. Caiana swallowed and reached into the pocket of her coat, where she now was keeping the offending autograph, and she looked about the room for the place it might have come from. The wallpaper was the same intense, nauseating velour-striped design on one side, and all about Brandy's love for Echo Bradley on the other. It was all real. The spell of the captor was broken at last. Caiana knew now about Yule and where he had come from. Of course, Yule Brenner was one of her masturbation fantasies, to live with Yule Brenner in an old house somewhere. One of her twisted fantasies of living with Yule Brenner as a retired old man. Caiana must have told this man all about it while he had her in the chair. Doped up. Caiana felt used, raped, sick, and used. How dare the captor use that against her? How dare he? Caiana felt heat and anger rise within her. She could now tell her mamma all about it. The police must know, and of course, the car had slid backwards down the hill after Caiana had parked it on the hill. All of it made sense now. But one thing. Where in the world was Brandy Ann Manson? Caiana turned and her mother was standing there, smiling at her. "Who's on the wall?" asked Kelly, as Caiana stepped towards her. There was so much to tell Mamma now, so much. The amount of information she had to tell Kelly staggered Caiana and made her weak, so very weak. "Caiana," asked her mother, walking towards her, "are you all right, girl?" Caiana tried to speak, tried to begin telling her mother all about it, but a squeak came out of her throat. Her brain had overloaded on her. The technique of the captor was not to be undone that easily. There would be a terrific cerebrovascular price to pay in pressure on her inner mind. Caiana Erbicum took one more step and fell down on the cold, dusty floor. Chapter 17. Kelly stepped out of Caiana's room, white as a ghost. "I'm worried about her, Don. Something upset her. I tried not to upset her, I swear I did. It must have been something I said." "The doctor says she'll be fine, Kelly. Drewsbury knows what he's saying. A man who still makes house calls would not lie to you." Kelly would have been wild if Dr. Drewsbury hadn't checked her out. After Caiana fell upstairs, Kelly had screamed. That had brought Don running, and soon he was out the front door of the deserted house, slipping and sliding as he ran down to his Jeep. He got on his CB and called Jefferson County Life-Saving Crew on Channel 9. They had arrived within 15 miraculous minutes, but by the time they had Caiana sitting up and talking to them, they were really not needed. They treated Caiana at the scene for fainting, and they released her, despite her bloody nose. "I want a doctor to see her," Kelly ranted. "I am not satisfied with these paramedics." Don was arguing the point with her back at their home later. Caiana had been put to bed and was resting comfortably. Kelly, however, wasn't. She was asking Don to call his doctor friend and have him come by the house. "He's a neighbor, isn't he?" asked Kelly, pushing her point. "He lives in Ashwood. Get his ass out here." Don had called mainly to shut her up, but his shock was that Dr. Drewsbury had agreed to come. The doctor had said that they wanted to hunt on Don's land later in the week, and of course he'd like to come and check it out geographically. Sure, he'd check on the girl while he was out that way. His examination was a bit more in-depth than the paramedics had done, but his determination was the same. He told Kelly to give her bed rest, fluids, hot soup, and to call him if she experienced any cranial pressure, blurred vision, or if she fainted again. "Your daughter has been through a traumatic experience, Mrs. Blue," he told her out in the hallway. "It's highly likely that she is suffering from some form of exhaustion, mental fatigue, or even slight amnesia. You say she recalls so very little of the week she spent away from you. Well, that might be true, and then again, it might not be true. The point to be made is your daughter is fine. Her vital signs look good, and a hospital would hold her for observation for 48 hours and then release her. You can do that much here. Monitoring her breathing and waking her periodically through the night tonight would be a good idea. Check her pupils to see if they're the same size. Cerebral accident is cause enough to look for uneven pupils. I'd let her get some rest and see how she responds to that. Simplest medicines first, you know. Her amnesia might be slight hysteria. It might be mental block, and it could be the effects, however latent, of her methaqualone use. That's why I cannot get too upset with her right now. She still has traces of narcotic hypnotics in her bloodstream, and in sensitive people, well, it sometimes happens. It explains the nosebleed." Kelly was comforted in all of this, much to Don's relief, but after the doctor left, she hit Don with all of her questions. "If I said anything to trigger her attack," Kelly was agonizing now, "I didn't mean to do anything but tell her it was all right." Kelly was remembering how Kayana had come to at the house. She had blubbered about the car and how it went down the road by itself into the ravine after she had parked it in the snow. She had raved on, nearly incoherently, about a captor and Brandy Manson and some other things that Kelly was finding hard to believe. She did believe Kayana meant what she said, but with a pornographic shot of Brandy on the wall above her, anything Kayana said about the girl became suspect.